Human resources, human capital, people, and culture. This single vocation has many names. HR professionals are responsible for what is arguably the most critical success factor within any organization. It's talent. HR Studio Podcast brings you bi-weekly interviews with HR executives, thought leaders, authors, speakers, and trend spotters from the world of HR and beyond. Listen, learn, and leverage. Welcome to HR Studio Podcast, building the next generation of HR leaders. HR Studio is brought to you by A.J. O'Connor Associates, a trusted human capital consulting partner to emerging, mid-market, and world-class organizations. For over 35 years, AJO has built its reputation on experienced listening, exceptional quality, and caring partnerships, delivering services in 30 states and 20 countries. To learn more, visit us at ajoconnor.com and be sure to check out our top-ranked HR blog and sign up to receive email alerts while you're there.
HR Studio Podcast, I'm Fred Bunsa, and joining me today is Michael Bungay Stanier, who is here for part 2 of our conversation around coaching and human resources and helping people develop better habits. If you haven't listened to our previous podcast with Michael, I would strongly recommend you do. Michael has been the founder of Box of Crayons, the company he started in 2002. The company's best known for teaching managers how to do 10-minute coaching. How can you beat that? 10-minute coaching. The goal of which...
You could beat it by teaching 8-minute coaching, but we don't do that.
Yeah, no. But the whole idea of it is to build stronger teams and get better results.
That's right.
He's written a number of books. One of my favorites that I've read called The Coaching Habit. Strongly recommend it. Say less, ask more, and change the way you lead forever.
And just to jump in, because we're a week away from it celebrating its 2nd birthday. So we're quite excited about that. And it's just... And this is just me now boasting, friends, so sorry about that. But it's sold almost 400,000 copies since we launched it 2 years ago. It's been the #1 coaching book on Amazon. So
I think I'm responsible for about 20 of those copies.
Well,
so the royalty check is in the mail, but know that I'm out there highlighting it wherever I can. You've also written a book called Do More Great Work.
Yeah.
That's right. And then some of your writings has appeared in Business Insider, Fast Company, Forbes, the Globe and Mail, and the Huffington Post. So you are very well published. But it's not all glorious because Michael has been banned from his high school graduation. He was sued by one of his law school lecturers for defamation. Is that right?
That's right, yep.
And he actually published a Harlequin romance short story called The Mail Delivery. So that will not be featured. There's a bad joke in there. Yeah. That will not be featured in an upcoming podcast, but I did want to point that out. So, Michael, thank you so much for joining us once again today.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Our topic today is how to be more coach-like as an HR professional. I think most of us desire to be more coach-like, and then we get busy, or we have some reluctances about being seen that way. And so we want to just explore what some of those obstacles are and some insights you have about how we can actually be more effective day-to-day in our coaching engagements.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. So many of the people listening here are thinking to themselves, look, I already understand coaching. I get it. I have drunk the proverbial Kool-Aid, and I'm on board for this coaching thing. If only everybody else in my organization was excited about coaching as I am, because I'm excited about it, but they're all like, HR initiative, kiss of death. Right. Could HR just leave us alone so we could do the real business and just they do their comp and bends or whatever HR does? And of course, if you're listening to this show, you're like, look, HR is so much more than comp and bands, and HR is one of those driving forces that build a culture. Culture eats strategy for breakfast. We talked about that in the previous episode. So how do you champion some of this? And the insights I've got are useful for you, but also useful for you to be a champion of coaching in your organization.
Okay, so share with us a couple things you've seen along the way that can make a difference.
Well, so because we're like, okay, coaching is actually pretty good. Why is it so hard to get traction in organizations to have managers and leaders be more coach-like? So rather than going, I've got a coaching model, so I'll just beat them over the head with it, I'm like, let's be manager-centric and ask what's their points of resistance.
Okay.
And if you do the research, and we have, the first thing they say is, look, I don't have time for this coaching stuff. I am so busy. Have you seen my inbox? Have you seen my meeting schedule? Have you seen that I'm already working 50 or 60 hours a week? I don't have time for coaching. I just got no room.
Yeah. And if coaching is something different, then they truly don't have time because they are busy.
Right. And we agree. We go, you're right. You do not have time to do coaching the way you're thinking about it, which is typically based on what they assume is executive coaching, which is like come in for an hour and have an hour-long chat with somebody.
Right.
So they go, I don't have time for 5x 1-hour chats with everybody on my team. I don't even want that. They don't even want that. And of course, at Box of Crayons, we say, look, you're right. If you can't coach in 10 minutes or less, then you don't have time for coaching.
Okay. And
in response to that, here's what they say. I still don't have time for coaching. I mean, even if I could coach in 10 minutes or less, which sounds intriguing, but even if I could, where am I going to squeeze that into my schedule? Like I said, I don't have any space. And we say, you're right, you don't have any space. You can't add coaching to what you're doing.
Right. Because
you've got no capacity, and coaching is always never quite urgent and important enough. But think of coaching as not an addition to what you're doing, but a transformation of what you're currently doing.
So not an addition, but a transformation.
Right, you're changing what you're currently doing to be more coach-like. And they're like, well, okay, that's intriguing, but look, okay, that may be true, but look, I don't want to be a coach. Like, I've met coaches. Like, there's a whole bunch of them hanging out in HR. I don't like that. They're weird. And then I keep bumping into life coaches when I go out for a glass of wine with my friends. I don't want to be a coach. I'm a normal person. And we say to them, you're right. You do not want to be a coach. Honestly, there's plenty of coaches in this world. You don't want to be a coach. You want to be more coach-like. And they're like, well, what do you mean by more coach-like? Because, I mean, that sounds okay, but I still don't really know what you're talking about, because coaching is one of those words that everybody bandies around, but nobody's exactly sure what it actually means.
Yes.
In Box of Crayons, we've got this very simple definition. Coaching is a behavior. It's, can you stay curious a little bit longer? Can you rush to action and advice giving just a little bit more slowly? Because most people, even HR people, are advice-giving maniacs. I mean, they love it. They love to hand over the advice. I've got the solution for you. This is how I'm adding value right now.
Yes. Well, we're there to help people, and so when we see a need, we want to fill it. But give us that definition one more time. That's good.
Thank you. Can you stay curious a little bit longer?
All right.
Can you rush to action and advice-giving just a little bit more slowly? And you know what they go, this manager who's like, okay, so I can do it fast. It's transforming what I'm doing. Okay, coaching isn't so weird. It actually feels like just a way of showing up and behaving. It's an everyday thing, so that's okay. And then they go, okay, so fifth reason I don't want to do coaching. What's in it for me? Because, look, I get that coaching is helpful for the people I'm coaching, right? Because they're more focused, they're more engaged, they're more productive. They're going to lift their game by me being more coach-like.
Sure.
And you know what? That's going to help my organization as well. Because if I've got more focused, more engaged people, more productive and more engaged, those are the two holy trinities, right? That's the thing we're after.
Yes.
Engagement, productivity. Coaching helps with all of that. Coaching elevates the culture. Coaching drives money to the bottom line. There's all sorts of good research on that. But what's in it for me? Why would I add coaching to everything I'm already doing? Because quite frankly, I've got enough on my plate.
That's right.
And here's the benefit for the people listening here, but also to the line managers, other people out there. I think being more coach-like in the end allows you to work less hard, but have more impact.
Work less hard, have more impact.
Right.
All right.
Because so much of us, this is true. I know, exactly. Because for so many of us, like, we're working really hard when we're like, I seem to be flailing, but what difference am I making here? Mm-hmm. And we all know the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule. 20% of what you do has 80% of the impact. Fortunately, that means that 80% of what you're doing is basically not making much impact whatsoever.
Right.
And being more coach-like starts adjusting that, allowing you to have more impact. And you know what? There's a one other barrier, which actually managers themselves don't talk about quite as much, but this is something that HR professionals and people championing coaching in their organization do talk about, which is, so how do you get people to do this?
Okay.
Because, and we talked a bit about this in the previous episode.
Our previous episode, that's right.
It's not enough to have people go, I know what the GROW model is, right? Because, or whatever coaching model you happen to care about in your organization. Because models are intriguing. If you're coaching nerds like you and me and people listening in, they're like, oh, I like a good coaching model. Yeah, It's like a box or a circle or a box and a circle. But actually what we care about is not knowledge, but behavior change.
Okay.
And so the final piece of the equation is, how do you help people build new habits so they can be more coach-like? And I kind of get on a soap. I mean, I'm already on a soapbox, but I'm putting another soapbox on top of my current soapbox and having a rant about this.
All right, you're a little taller.
Yeah, okay, there we go, a little taller. So much of our training, particularly in the world that we're all in, which is the so-called soft skill training, it is all about behavior change. That's the only metric that matters. And we take the easy way out by going, okay, did people like the training? Yeah, they did. Did people remember a little bit of the training? Yeah, they did. We succeeded. You didn't succeed unless people are doing things differently. So regardless of what you're teaching, regardless if it's about coaching or some other behavior change you want, here's my plea. Think about how people in your organization, in your training, will change the way they work, will build new habits. Now, I have a vested interest in this. The first chapter of the Coaching Habit book is actually about how to build habits. The good news, though, is if you go to thecoachinghabit.com, you can download the first 3 chapters of the book, so you'll get that first chapter on habits. It's only 20 pages. And that alone might be the key takeaway from this, which is build behavior change into the work you do so that people do things differently and you shift the culture. However you want to shift it, but you want to shift the culture by helping people build habits.
So as you think about any kind of a coaching, or actually in any kind of a session you're going to design for people, one of the starting points, begin with the end in mind. What habits do I want people having when they leave here?
Right. And the way we think about it is we want people to self-define 2 to 3 new habits that they work with. Because, we talked about the new habit formula in the previous episode. And if you haven't heard that, people, you should listen to that because we break that down in real detail.
Yes.
That means that you can't really prescribe habits for people other than in the most generic and not that useful way. You need people to understand the mechanics of habit building and go, okay, if I'm striving for that, this is the habit that will get me there the fastest. Okay.
Now, but so now my instructional designer, half of that brain, actually it's way less than half of my brain, I think about, so when we're building a program, though, we have to have at least a general idea of what kinds of habits we hope people will want to form based on the content we're delivering and the objectives of the business, right?
For sure. So, at Box of Crayons, we teach practical coaching skills for busy managers. We want people to be more coach-like, be curious a little bit longer, rush to action and advice a little bit more slowly. But within that circle, I don't mind how they define the habits that will get that outcome. Okay. But for sure, you need to have that general piece. I mean, there's no point in sending them to a training and the habit they walk out with is, I'm going to eat more ice cream. That's kind of like, good, it's a habit, but it's not what we're here for.
Yes. Okay. What else can help people become more coach-like, or where are some of the good intentions go astray that might be a good help, a preview of what encounters or obstacles they can prepare for?
In the book, in one of the sections of the book, we talk about something called the drama triangle, the Karpman drama triangle. Have you come across that before, Fred?
Is it the parent-adult-child?
So it's based on parent-adult-child, which is transactional analysis.
Right.
And Stephen Karpman, who developed the drama triangle, was a student of Eric Benz, who developed transactional analysis. Okay. So parent-adult-child is language that doesn't work in organizational life at all. This language does. It says, look, when things get dysfunctional, these 3 different roles play out. There's the victim, the persecutor, and the rescuer.
Okay, yes.
And what's delightful about this is nobody's inherently one or the other, but we do have default roles that we like to play. Victim, whiny, complainy, it's not my fault, it's their fault, life's so hard. Persecutor, finger waggler, blamer, micromanager. I'm surrounded by idiots. It's a miracle I can get anything done. Rescuer, which obviously sounds better than the other two, but actually is just as dysfunctional.
Okay.
Oh, I'll jump in, I'll fix this, I'll solve this, give this to me. And we bounce around all three of those roles all of the time, but we do have a default role that we like to play.
Okay.
And for most people, especially HR people, that default role is the rescuer.
Absolutely.
Let me jump in, let me fix it. So when you ask people, so how's that working for you? They go, it's terrible. I am exhausted. I am frustrated. I am burnt out. I've just realized that rescuers perpetuate the drama triangle. So rescuers create victims. Rescuers create persecutors. So the drive, this kind of connects back to the what's in it for me piece, which is how do you get out of the drama triangle so that you have more adult to adult relationships with the people with whom you work? And it turns out that being more coach-like is one of the surefire ways to shift yourself out of the drama triangle. You never quite escape it. I mean, you're always being dragged back into it. But the goal is to realize you're in it faster, get out of it more quickly, stay out of it longer.
Well, that gets back to, Michael, to one of the things you said earlier about managers saying they're too busy. They're too busy in that triangle, I would imagine. And one of the ancillary benefits of a coaching habit is they will actually find time by pulling themselves out of that triangle.
Exactly. They're too busy, and part of them is in victim mode. It's so unfair, the organization, I got to work, and Part of it's too busy because I'm so busy rescuing everybody else that I don't have time to do my own work.
That's fascinating. And so these habits that are built for coaching can also help them extricate themselves from that triangle. They can be a little less quick to give advice, a little longer to stay curious, right?
I mean, honestly, I wrote this book with the busy manager in mind. You know, she likes her job, she's trying to do her best, but she's just reached a plateau of like ineffectiveness around, I'm exhausted, I'm tired, how do I elevate my game? But the truth is, if you interact with human beings at some stage during your day, the tools in this book are actually useful because, and you said this in your last episode, you've used some of these questions with your kids, and that's been really helpful for that. This is human dynamic stuff. Like if you'd like to improve the relationships with the people you work, if you'd like to have a better life yourself, I'm pretty sure that some of the tools in this book will help you.
That's awesome. We have time for just another couple points, but my question, Michael, is if you had an aspiring HR leader and they really wanted to start to move in this direction, they see the wisdom of this and they see how it can actually make them more effective and not just a rescuer. What would you recommend they do? Would they find one person to work with who might be open to this, or just find the one who's the most burnt out? And where could they first, if they wanted to test this out? Yeah,
it's a great question. So what doesn't work is kind of walking away from this podcast going, I am inspired, this is amazing, I'm going to change everything. Because when you try and change everything, you end up changing nothing.
Sure.
So it's about picking a new habit, singular, one new habit, and going, let me try this. So for me, it's a combination of, okay, with whom do you want to build this habit?
Okay.
And sometimes you're like, I'm going to build it with Fred because I get on well with Fred and he's going to let me stumble around and try this stuff. Or maybe I'm going to build it with Kyle because honestly, things can't get worse with me and Kyle right now. So I've got absolutely nothing to lose at this stage. Why wouldn't I try something new?
Right.
Or it might just be, this is the person that triggers me most often into the drama triangle. So I'm looking to get out of the drama triangle. So I want to fix this. So it doesn't matter where you start. It matters that you start. So pick a person and then pick the situation that you want to start with, trying to change. It might be your one-to-one meeting with them. It might be the team meeting. It might be bumping them into the hall. It might be every time they shout at you when they're 3 cubicles down the hallway and go, that's the moment. That's the person. What's the habit I want to change? And pick a question. We say there are 7 in the book, but you may pick your own question and go, okay, when this happens and blah, blah does this, instead of me doing that, which for many people is, if you like, being a rescuer in some form or other, I will. and then I'm more coach-like. I will be more coach-like by asking this question. So I would just start somewhere.
Yeah. Pick one person and begin with them and commit to doing it. And
one person, one situation even. I mean, it's really specific, but you get better at this one step at a time.
Excellent. Well, Michael, thank you so much for spending another episode with us. This has been incredibly helpful. Once again, the book is The Coaching Habit by Michael Bungay Stanier, and we really appreciate your time. Today, the book link and some of the other references Michael made will be in the show notes. If you're not a subscriber to the HR Studio podcast,
you're a fool.
You'd be a fool.
Change that immediately and
not
subscribe.
to be subscribed. And we will. You can reach us at hrstudiopodcast.com. Let us know you want to subscribe, and we'll have links to Michael's information and box of crayons there as well. So, Michael, thank you once again for your time today. It's been great.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, Fred.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to HR Studio Podcast, building the next generation of HR leaders. To discover additional information from this week's episode and to catch up on all episodes, visit hrstudiopodcast.com. Subscribe to the HR Studio Podcast list while there and receive alerts and future updates.